Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to thank and pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hello everyone and welcome to Bouncing Back, the Personal Resilience Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. Let's get started.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. So we're talking about self-esteem today. Self-esteem is seen as how we value ourselves and how we perceive ourselves in terms of what the things that we do and the beliefs that we have. It can be difficult to change because it's based on our own opinions, but we also like to see self-confidence as being similar to what self-esteem is. And I have no idea if I am right or wrong because I know that I am definitely not the expert. To help me talk about this today is Irena Grigorian, and she's here as a coach, a mentor, a counseling hypnotist, an NLP master, and a clinical hypnotherapist. So hi, Irena. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, that's correct. That's correct. You managed to go through all these names that probably doesn't sound familiar to many people.
Yes, I think it's very interesting. It's a very new thing for me to hear a counseling hypnotist as being a career path.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just, if you take it separately, it's not a career path. It's just descriptively gives a person who understands what that means, gives them some ideas of the tools that I'm using when I work with people. But to be honest, I think it's not important at all which tools any therapist uses or coach or mentor. I think what's rather important is the result, don't you think, Dina?
Yes, no. I think we spoke about this before recording as well, and I think it's really important to know the end result for anyone, especially if it's a current patient or a future patient. I think it's very interesting.
Right. I would call them rather clients than patients because I'm not a psychiatrist. Psychiatrists are doctors and they treat mental illness. What I address is a rather inner discomfort. No matter how big that inner discomfort is. Whether that is post-traumatic stress disorder or phobia, or maybe it was just a breakup, which could be very, very traumatic as well, you know. Yes. And when a person comes with very difficult negative feelings and then leave smiling, that's the biggest reward for me as a I should say therapist, probably. Yeah.
No, I think for me, it's very important to know the aspects as to what kind of therapy that you do go through. So to begin with, why did you start sort of going into the career path and going into the field of therapy and also counseling as well?
Yeah, I would never ever thought that I'm going to end up in this field. Never ever, because I started as an electronics engineer, believe it or not.
Wow.
And then I went into a different area of international marketing business, etc. I was very, very curious of how this world operates financially and economically, and how people interact in the world. And then I realized that doesn't matter how many times or how intensively you coach somebody who, and I mean marketing coaching, doing marketing projects, helping some people to get their businesses up and running or something of that sort. And I just realized that when you appeal to the logic of the person, to their what we are calling a conscious mind, it's absolutely not enough. Because as I don't know how they measured that, by the way, they say that only 5% of your mind, of your psyche, is your logical mind, something that you are actually aware of. And this huge 95%, I don't know if it's 95 or 94.5, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it's so much more, such a big amount of unconscious, big meaning deeper, more. Actually, I'll explain it later rather than now, how that works. And your unconscious is so much faster, and it processes so much more data, like billion times more than your conscious mind. And we are just not aware of it. And all our habits, all our patterns, everything that we do habitually, or everything that, all automatic thoughts, they all come from the unconscious. So it makes sense to address that rather than your logical mind. And when this underlying layer, I should say, underlying layer, right? When it's addressed in the right way, so it changes everything for the person. And I've seen it so many times when somebody comes, for example, and just says, okay, I don't sleep well. That's my issue. Can you help me? We don't talk about sleep. We don't talk about how you should position your bed, or what should you do before you go to bed. Or it's not about the routine, although it's very helpful as well. But I would rather look at the content of the head of that person. What's going on for this person in their lives, and what keeps this person awake. And it's not obvious straight away. So with this particular person that I'm talking about now, he came with this issue of I can't sleep well. And we end up just removing his post-traumatic stress disorder.
Oh, so there's a lot more underlying
absolutely, yes. Any issue, any presenting issue has a story. And when you address that, it's a life-changing experience for many, many people.
So how important is it to sort of address what's in your mind and what subconscious thoughts that you
crucial. It's absolutely crucial. Because if you think of all these little instances that we still keep deep inside, there are some problems that were never resolved. That's what they are. And they are like outdated apps in your phone or in your computer. They just drain the battery. And if you have quite a few of those, then no wonder that you're not functioning properly. And why is that happening? Because, all these unhelpful feelings they are perceived by your unconscious as a threat to your survival. And our reptilian mind, our ancient mind deep inside, it makes sure that we survive. So what it does, it changes the physiology. Yeah. So it sends all this blood into your muscles and into your head, preparing you for fight or flight. So cortisol is being released in the bloodstream, which is a hormone of stress. And your blood pressure goes up. Many other physiological things are happening. And when you are in this state, your immune system goes down. So you are more susceptible to any illness. And actually being for a very short period of time in this fight or flight, it's okay. But when you are in this state of anxiety, that's what it is. When you are in this state for weeks or months, or some people even for years, then they have very little chance to stay healthy. And to perform, because they are being drained, no energy. The battery is getting flatter and flatter. Yeah, that's what it is. That's why it's so important.
Okay, well, it's amazing just how influential every part of your body it is, and how if you don't address what's in your mind, then it affects everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
So before we really get started, we love to go through a little icebreaker, a little get to know you before we talk about the topic today.
Okay.
So just say the first thing that sort of comes to your mind when I say these different phrases. So the first one is a favorite book of yours.
I don't know about favorite, but this is something that I started now to read, and it seems absolutely in sync with today's topic, and it's called Anti-Fragile. That is by a contemporary thinker, one of the brightest thinkers of our time, and his name is Nassim Taleb.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an American, but I think Lebanese-born American writer.
Okay.
So this concept of anti-fragile, he introduced that concept lately. And what that is, this is something beyond resilience. Because I know the topic of our today's conversation, and we spoke about it before. It's going to be resilience, I know.
Yeah.
So, and I thought straight away when I heard resilience, I thought, gee, it's a bit outdated now.
Yes.
Resilience is when, it's a law of nature.
Yeah.
And you strive to survive. That's what resilience is, right?
Yeah.
So by, I don't know, any plants, any animals, any living organism needs to be resilient to survive.
Yes.
Yeah, but we are talking about prosperity here.
Yes, that's true. And I think, especially when it comes to the idea of being fragile and the whole, I think, ideology of what it means to be, when someone calls you fragile, or you're in a fragile state, for example, I think people misuse that word in so many different ways, because they say anything can be fragile. You can be soft. You can be too soft. You can be too hard, and that kind of thing. So I think...
Yeah. Semantic of words, this is an absolutely different topic, and I can talk about it for another 2 days.
Oh, trust me,
but I just remembered that the question was about my favorite book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's the reason why.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The next one is a favorite movie of yours.
Can I just say blank?
Okay.
And I don't have one.
Okay, perfect. How about, do you have a favorite podcast?
Oh, it's definitely your podcast now because I'm in it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
How about a famous role model that you have?
Oh, that would be Cleopatra.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I can see why. I can totally understand that.
Yes.
I think she has a lot of huge values and the way that she persists through a lot of different circumstances, I think.
Yeah, beauty, wisdom,
yeah,
many abilities, absolutely a remarkable woman.
Yeah, I think she's very she's very interesting to research and to look into. I think if you haven't looked into her, go and look into her a little bit more, because there's a lot of things that she goes through that she's just persists through all of them, and I think it's very fascinating to me.
It is. Yeah. It is. So is to me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Agree. Absolutely agree. Yeah.
And the last one is a favorite course that you've completed.
Oh, that's absolutely a question which is impossible to answer.
Okay.
That would be so many, and I can't pick one because they all gave me something really valuable. Mm-hmm. And if they were really useless, I would leave them, and I won't just push through.
Yep. No, I can understand that.
Not worth it. Yeah, not worth it.
So, talking about resilience today, and talking about, the whole show is based on resilience. We're talking about different areas of being resilient. Why, in your opinion, is resilience so important to our lives?
Well, as I mentioned before, it's a law of nature, right? We all need to survive. Mm-hmm. That's our first and primary thing, survival. Our deep unconscious is not interested, by the way, whether we're happy or not. Mm. Yeah. But it is doing everything to preserve us, preserve the life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Preserve our existence, I should say. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Yeah.
So it's just basically finding ways in order to go through everyday life without really focusing on emotion.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, emotion, whatever is going on with the person, if that person stays in that paradigm, that means it's their comfort zone.
Okay.
And the comfort zone, what's interesting about it, doesn't have to be comfortable.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, no, that's very interesting. So,
yes. And I see it all the time.
So it's not always a safe space to be in your comfort.
It's just that what you're familiar with.
Okay. So it's not really being in content. So you could be completely happy and completely comfortable just being in a state where you're going through an emotional stress. And that's your constant.
I wouldn't say that. Not that you're comfortable. Mm-hmm. No, that's not what I meant. You are actually uncomfortable.
Okay.
You are unhappy. Mm-hmm. But you're not doing anything to change it. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Because this state is familiar and somehow more comfortable than you getting up and changing something, doing something that you never done before. Mm-hmm. So that is perceived by your mind as a potential threat. Mm-hmm. What if I won't survive in this new adventure? Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if your logical mind, what it thinks. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. Your unconscious is so much more powerful. Mm-hmm. And it primary thing is to keep you from getting harmed in some way. Mm-hmm. So whatever is familiar, it knows, your unconscious mind knows, okay, we survived through this. Hence, it's safe. Okay. But something that you haven't tried before, you haven't done before. Dina, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you did this podcast for the very first time, tell me, how scared were you?
Oh, I was very terrified.
Terrified?
Yes.
Terrified. And why is that? Was somebody standing here promising to kill you? Or what was so scary? Tell me.
I think in a way it was a fear of judgment in terms of myself and not really doing so well in it and not
Have you been judged before? Tell me.
Yes.
Yes, but you survived. You went through.
Yes.
So it wasn't really fear of judgment. It was the fear of new. You were doing something new.
Yes. I think it's, yeah, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very, wow, that's got a lot deeper.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think introducing that idea, and I can definitely see how much it sort of widens your understanding into different things. And I think the first time I did the show, it was very, it was kind of like I held myself to a standard where I felt like if I didn't do that level, it was just going to go badly. And I mean, because it's not a live recording, it was very easy for me to know that if I stuff up, I can go back and do it again.
Right.
But I think even now, sometimes there's still that sort of like, okay, if it's not perfect straight away, it's not going to go well. Like the
Here
whole
we
thing.
are now. If it's not perfect, so there is an expectation that we should be perfect all the time. And tell me how realistic that assumption is.
Oh, that's very unrealistic.
Very unrealistic.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's very hypocritical for me to say that I need to be perfect, because I keep telling the people around me that you don't need to be good at everything. You don't need to be perfect at everything.
Again, you're talking to your logical mind. You're talking logically to other people.
Yes.
But your emotion,
Yeah.
your deep unconscious, maybe not so deep as well, and we'll talk about it if you like, levels of unconscious, it tells you otherwise. Why can't you tell me, why can't you just talk to yourself saying, oh, actually, relax, it's fine, I can stuff up, and be done with? Doesn't work, right?
No.
It takes more than that.
Yeah. I think especially when it comes to, I mean, we're talking about self-esteem today, and I think it really fits in with self-esteem in terms of the whole idea of being judged or judging myself or setting myself to a standard. So like the way that I see my self-esteem is very much affected by how my expectations are set. And the idea of my expectations being as high as it is, being at a professional standard when I'm very much not in a professional mode at the moment. For me, I definitely have a huge self-esteem problem, and I have had that for a very long time, especially when it comes to growing up, like the high school stages, and that still being something that...
Okay, then I'll have a different question for you then. You probably keep a diary of your appointments, you write down, or your do lists, etc. What do you write there in your diary? Do you write, first of all, let's hear.
Okay.
What do you have there?
For me, I use a time diary. So by a certain time, things need to be done.
Yeah.
And then that's sort of how I set things up. Like it's like, okay, I have to put it in the planner. I don't put in the diary to like make my bed and all these simple things. It's more just the big things.
Yeah. So what's in your planner?
Okay. Well, it's usually
problems
yes
to solve.
yes
Exactly.
like household things, and
That's where we start. Because almost no one puts in a diary, they, apart from problems, their victories, their little or not so little achievements. No one puts them. Yes, you can tick off the list something that you've done, but you don't write anything about it in your planner. And guess what? When that happens, all you see, our unconscious is very visual, by the way. All you see is problems, something that needs to be done, something that probably you skip doing for some reason, failures as well as problems. And guess what? Where attention goes, energy flows, and that thing grows.
yeah. I think it definitely hits when it's left unticked, when there's a time that I didn't get to do that particular task, and it
but you managed to do many other things quite well.
Yeah.
Even if you managed to come to be in time somewhere where it was a bit difficult because of unpredictability of traffic or something, and you managed to be on time. It's a small achievement and it goes unnoticed. Yeah. Or you cooked dinner and it was so delicious. Yeah, it's your success. Or you did something else, or you did a very good interview and you did really well, and it's your success. Next time, take a picture of that work that you're really proud of and put it somewhere visible. So your mind looks, you're not your mind, your eyes, of course, they look at it and your mind understands, oh, success, victory, I am doing something right. Instead, oh, I'm doing something wrong. I forgot this, oh my God, I messed up here, I stuffed up there. Yes, it's nice to notice that so you don't do it next time. But when you put all of your attention just to that, so your internal compass is showing somewhere that it doesn't have to show. It's kind of a wrong direction, internal direction. You're looking at the failures. It doesn't matter how small or big.
No, I know. I think,
even if you burned your breakfast. We tend to actually get emotional about it. But when you do something right, you kind of, oh, well, yes. And it just goes unnoticed. But it's for your deeper mind, it's very, very important. So it understands that there are success stories.
So how does self-esteem go through when it comes to the resilience, when it comes to being influenced by resilience?
Self-esteem, it's a complex thing because it comes from our conditioning, the limitations of the mind. And our mind, growing up, we actually we get these 4 levels of limitations, so to speak. So the very first level of our limitations, it's imposed by our genetics and epigenetics. Epigenetics meaning which genes are gonna actually be activated throughout your life. So depending on your lifestyle, many things. So genetics and epigenetics, that's your first level of conditioning limitations that put some kind of limitations. And science is telling us now that up to 50%, again, I don't know how exactly they measure this percentage, percentages, up to 50% of the hormones that our brain produces, whether they are hormones of happiness or otherwise, up to 50% is determined by our genetics.
Wow.
Only 40% that you can do something about it, and 10% depends on the some outside factors, the environment.
So is self-esteem sort of like a generational?
No, wait. It was just the first level of conditioning.
Okay.
And then there is another level of conditioning which we receive. That is imposed, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, imposed by the society, could be by the religious, and it doesn't matter if you are religious or not, but you are being born into some kind of religious paradigm. You know, if you're born to for example, you're born in a Christian country, you will see churches everywhere. You are kind of in this paradigm, and it doesn't matter if you're personally a religious person and you believe in Christian God, or you might be seeing mosques all the time and hear the prayers, etc. So this social and religious conditioning we are being born into, or we are raised in that kind of paradigm, and that would be another level and another layer of conditioning. And then another level comes, the third level of conditioning. It's our ancestral line.
Okay.
And it's not the same as genetics. It's not the same. It's what stories did we hear growing up? How our parents, grandparents behaved? How did they relate to each other? Yeah. In what way did they speak about people, about the world, etc.? Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's your ancestral line.
Okay.
And wait, there is more.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, there is your personal life story. You could have, as a child, for example, you could have been bitten by a dog, and it's your story. And you could have dealt with it, maybe yes, maybe no. If yes, you're lucky. If not, then you end up with having a dog phobia.
Yeah.
Being scared of every little puppy.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So because your brain performs this wrong pattern match, I should say. It thinks that if it's a dog, it doesn't matter what kind of dog, must be very dangerous, because once it was paired, dog and danger in your mind. So 4 levels of conditioning. And now you're welcome to keep talking about self-esteem.
No, because I think especially when it comes to when you're talking about the 40% that you are able to change.
Yes.
In the first paradigm.
Yes.
How much, like, when talking about self-esteem, so that 40% is what you're able to train your mind.
Yes.
in order to take away some of the habits of
Yes.
the self-esteem questions that you always get.
Yes.
So the rest of it is pretty much set in you in terms of conditioned in you.
That's what the official science says. I don't know. It's not, I didn't come up with that. I'm just telling you what I read about it in the scientific journals, scientific articles.
Yeah.
That's what they reckon. And we probably should trust them.
Yeah, no, I would trust that.
I don't know. But you know what? If we really talk about, I know it's not about an everyday person, but people who practice very seriously for years, practice Kriya Yoga, for example, or Vipassana, or anything as serious as that, I see different results there.
Okay.
So I don't know about this 50%, but I also understand that an average person, an everyday person, is not actually prepared to do to put this hard work.
Yeah.
It's not about our everyday life, right?
No. I think, especially when we talk about self-sabotaging behaviors.
Yes.
You talk about things that sort of manipulate your mind and thinking that you're not good enough, like we spoke about a little bit earlier. So what kind of physical or psychological signs are there and that we should be aware of in order to know that, okay, this is a sign of low self-esteem, this is a sign of self-sabotage?
Well, if you feel bad, you will know that you have low self-esteem, right? In any context, in any context. If you feel that you are by default not clever enough, not fast enough, not slow enough, not whatever. You can put any word there. So in other words, if you feel that you're not as good as other people, well, then probably, most likely, you do have low self-esteem. On the other hand, you can't compare yourself to all people that are living on earth, because yes, there will be many people who are more beautiful, clever, more clever than you, faster, stronger, absolutely. Yes. So why would you compare yourself with others? And this is a serious question, by the way. It's not a rhetorical question I'm asking.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the answer can be, I am comparing myself to know whether how I perform in my profession, for example. Yeah. Okay, so who are you comparing yourself with? Are you comparing with the industry expert? If you are, then why would you feel bad? You're looking up to these people, and instead of feeling bad, you rather go and learn from them if they are industry experts. So it's an avenue for improvement. If you're comparing yourself with your peers, well, again, why? What for?
Yep.
It all drills down to your personal goal. If your goal is to be the best among your friends, that's a different kind of setup. And again, why would you? Because there is always an underlying layer. Why do you want to be the best in your circle? If you want to be the best, therapist, yeah, go learn from the best people in the world, because maybe you want to help as many people as possible. That's a good goal to have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, there is a little trap there. You can't, in your goal, in your real internal goal, can't be something that is totally about other people.
Okay.
It has to be a bit of you in it, because you're deep unconscious. It's like a little child.
Mm-hmm.
And the little child can't wish that all the toys go to other kids.
Yep.
And not to them.
Yep. So why do you think, like, when you're talking about children and adults, the way that our minds work, why do you think that we're a lot more self-focused as a kid, and then as we get to an older age, we're so selfless in a way that we're expecting everyone else to do good in terms of, and we're comparing ourselves that we're not good enough, to a point that when we were a kid, we're very much...
Oh, you are generalizing a little bit right now. Let's start with the early stages of life. And it's biology. That's human development. That's how the brain develops. So yes, kids are very, they are self-centered, because that's the right way.
Yeah.
That's how they develop.
Yeah.
But then it's all conditioning. That it's all, again, low self-esteem plays a big role. In the second part, what you said that when we grow up, we tend to think that we have to serve others all the time. But you know what? If you don't know how to serve yourself in the right way, this internal balance, life balance of give and take, will never be correct. And there's no way you can be happy when this balance is out of balance.
Yes. No, I think, for me, it's a really interesting thing when you're sort of trying to balance what you do for other people and what you do for yourself, because you either can be seen as self-serving and selfish, or seen as too giving.
Okay, that's interesting too. So when would you be seen as selfish, you reckon? Give me an example.
I think when every action that you do is seen to benefit yourself and not really benefit...
Is that for the expense of others?
I think putting yourself first against others is one thing.
At the expense of somebody else?
Yes.
That, I agree, that would be very selfish. But what if you're doing something for yourself without breaking anybody's boundaries? Is that selfish?
I think the way that society gives it and the way it's conditioned in the definition of selfish, I think it can be seen as selfish. Like, for example, if your boss came up to you for a job, for a promotion, and said that either you or the other person will get the promotion.
All right.
If you pick yourself, that would be seen as selfish. But if you pick the other person, you're taking an opportunity away from yourself.
Okay. So if, for example, you have a little kid, your little kid, yeah? And there is an opportunity to give this kid something that kid needs. And you are just what you're doing is you're saying, no, you don't deserve this. I'm giving it to the other child. This is a bit simplified, I understand, and it will really depend on the context. And I'm sure there is always a good way of dealing with any situation. And it will be never, it's a hypothetical scenario that it's not very realistic.
Yep.
It's not very realistic. On the surface it can be, but it's not up to you to decide whether you're gonna work there or not. And there's another thing there. Why are you working in the environment where the bosses put you in such uncomfortable space? What's going on there?
Yeah. Maybe because of it could be the only job that was available, and
it's up to you, right?
Yeah.
Does it really happen? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's realistic. I don't know. Depending on the real situation, because we don't know all other circumstances, and it's difficult to talk about something that you don't have all the ingredients.
Yes.
Right?
No, that's true.
So that's why, but the general answer would be, put this oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it to someone else.
Yeah.
Because if you won't survive, no one will.
Yeah.
These people who depend on you, I mean. And also, when you give, you rather give it out of surplus of your resources than just when you try to give the last drop of blood that you have,
Yeah.
And it goes against your survival instinct.
And that's very...
Yeah, it goes against your human nature.
Yeah. And how, in order to improve someone's self-esteem, what kind of strategies or what kind of questions would you say are the best questions and strategies to give yourself in order to say...
Oh, if it's a self-help.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You can only do this much by yourself depending on the complexity, depending on how many unhelpful patterns you have, right? It could be very little, it could be a lot, but yes, you can do a lot by yourself as well. Just becoming aware what is the reality, because people, they tend to put the blame on the outside circumstance, on other people. It's never the right thing to do. You start with yourself. Yeah. So, and if you are brave enough to see your pattern, why am I doing this? Why am I all the time? Why am I volunteering every day to run for coffee for the whole office? It's just me all the time, and I volunteer. Why? And if you're brave enough to answer to yourself, you don't have to say it out loud, just to yourself, admit it, that, because I want people to love me, right? But no one loves people who don't have these boundaries in place, who are not, who don't have this sense of me in a good way.
Yeah.
this inner stamina, this inner strength, this inner relaxation kind of, when I'm sure of myself. Although I don't know everything in this life, but I know who I am. I know what I want. And sometimes it's very, very difficult to know what you really want because all of these layers of conditioning.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're not even aware. Is that your wish, your goal, or it's your parents, maybe?
Yeah.
Or it's something that came from your friends. Everybody is doing something. That means that I kind of go with them and do the same. Yeah. Is that really what you want to do? And sometimes it's very difficult to get to the bottom of all these things. So if you can't do it yourself, you go to a professional.
Yeah.
That would be the advice. But yes, you can do a lot by yourself.
Okay.
First, become aware and ask questions.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? And really, if you feel inadequate in your profession, maybe it's true. Maybe you're lacking some skills. Okay, go change it. Yeah? Go get some more knowledge rather than sitting there and feeling bad, if it's true.
And so when we talk about you can do it by yourself, and some of those strategies.
No, not everything. Yeah. Yes.
But you're talking about like getting the extra help. And in the terms of what you do as, like, for example, the hypnotherapy, how does that sort of work in order to reform one's negative thoughts?
Yeah. In hypnotherapy, in hypnosis, we address the unconscious mind. So what we do, we bypass the logical mind, which is always busy with some chatter, mind chatter, some negativity, or some, it analyzes all the time. So it gets in the way of what you really want to do. It's similar to, for example, if you're trying to learn a foreign language, and you have the recording of some phrases playing next to you, but instead of focusing on it, you are watching a movie at the same time. You're watching a movie, but somehow you expect yourself to learn these phrases in a foreign language. So what we do, we switch off that TV, first of all, so you can totally be absorbed in the new learning, whatever that new learning is, whether you want to learn how to emotionally react on a situation, for example, you want to do it differently. Say you had this enormous fear of little puppies. You want to unlearn that, and you want to learn to react otherwise. But unless you switch off that TV, which is your logical mind, always in a way. So your attention is not getting absorbed by the process fully.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how can that sort of undermine the self-esteem, in terms of self-esteem, how can that sort of unlearn a lot of the things? Because I know, like, when you talk about some of the 40% that can be changed and that can be improved on, is it more than just working on that 40%, or is it just sort of looking into the different, looking into what other conditionings sort of take part? For example, like society or religion or culture, does that sort of, is it when you talk about it being turned off and that sort of logic
Oh no, it's not being turned off. It's not being turned off. It just doesn't stop you from reaching your goals. Because you don't have this extreme fear of something, or you don't feel that you are not deserving. No religion would impose that you don't deserve something good. Yeah, we somehow learn it. It's not a matter of switching off something. It's stopping it from overdoing its job, rather. Yeah, it's stopping it from being unhelpful. Because when we have too much of something, it can become very unhelpful and actually perform against us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when coming up with the hypnotherapy and after sort of the aftercare of that afterwards, how does that sort of help in setting boundaries for like people, for the other relationships that you have? Does that sort of, does it allow the clients to sort of set up a little bit more of a boundary
when
after?
You change, when your mind changes, the world changes around you.
Okay. So
when
is it
you have
easier?
New patterns of behavior. So you do what you never done before.
Yeah.
For example, if you're talking about boundaries, first of all, you have to decide for yourself, what is it that you do and what is it that you won't do under any circumstance, in any given situation. And just follow that. They are your boundaries.
Okay.
Allow some gray area to be a little bit flexible, just a little bit. But if you decided, and you should, that you will never ever allow any abuse, whether that physical or psychological, the first sign you leave that space. So that works. Your boundaries are in place. And if you actually start thinking that, well, this is familiar, I'm comfortable in this abuse because it's familiar, that's what we address. That's what we address. Why would you be comfortable in that situation?
So have clients somehow gone back into old habits, or is it?
No.
Okay.
Once something is changed, once you develop this new neural passages in your brain, there is no way you can go back unless you really, really try hard and develop another pattern. So unless you put it as a goal, I want to go back, it will never happen, right?
So now we're going to go into questions from audiences. We do have a few questions from audience that were sent to us, just in terms of self-esteem and in your work in sort of talking about self-esteem. So the first one is, how do we acknowledge if we have low self-esteem all this time but don't really realize it anymore because we're so used to it?
If I understood this question correctly, somebody has very high self-esteem but is questioning it?
So it's someone who has low self-esteem but doesn't even notice it anymore because it's something in their comfort area.
Low self-esteem. Yeah. So if they're happy, are they?
It sounds like they have just accepted it. I think not happy or not.
Are they happy? That's another question.
Okay.
So that person needs to ask themselves, right? Is that a boy or a girl? How is it?
It's a girl from Audrey. So it's a girl from what I understand.
Yeah. So if Audrey can ask herself, really, is she happy when she interacts with people? Is she happy in a social context, or if she's studying, she happy in that environment? She happy about what she's doing in life? If the answer is no, then what's the reason? Oh, I wanted to study something else, and why are you not there? Oh, I'm not good enough for that. You know, something like that. So if one is actually really familiar with the discomfort within, it doesn't mean that, you know, that's the only way to be. Because every single person has, even if they don't remember consciously, their unconscious mind holds memory about situations where they were really happy, even as little kids. Even momentarily, everybody has that.
Yeah.
Whether they remember or not. So the unconscious mind knows the difference.
Okay. So the next one is, can building strong social support networks help improve self-esteem? If so, what are some strategies for doing so?
Social support. What's the quality of that social circle?
Okay.
If you trying to, for example, I don't know, on social media somewhere, to friend as many people as possible, that's the wrong way of dealing with that. Yeah, it's the quality, not the quantity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you surround yourself with people that are a little bit better than you in the way that I want to be there as well, then you will get the qualities, providing you are working towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how important is, so it's very important to have a good social support. It's very good to have people around you who...
Absolutely. We are social creatures. We are social creatures. It's very important. Social feedback is very important. But again, everything has to be in balance. If my only feedback comes from the outside, then I'm out of balance in some way. And as we spoke before, when we don't build internal resources, then we have no chances. It has to be internal and external.
Okay.
Both. And internal, what you do, you pay attention to your little successes and big ones, of course, as well, all the time. You set goals. Doesn't matter how big or small. Yeah, even if you want to adopt a puppy and look after, I don't know, it could be that, it could be much bigger, all sorts of goals. And you go achieve them, put your attention to that, actually look, have pictures of your success.
Okay.
Have some visual evidence. Why do you think all athletes, professionals, Olympic heroes, they usually have all their medals on display somewhere?
Self-validation, I think, in a way.
That's visual. Yes, exactly. That's a good reminder for their mind. That's my achievement.
Okay.
It has to be visual, has to be emotional. Your mind has to concentrate on that from time to time. So by looking at that medal, doesn't have to be an Olympic medal, something, probably a photo of your success at work, little, even a little one, because where attention goes, energy flows, that thing grows.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you look at it, it's visual, you remember how it felt when you were at that moment. That's a reminder for your mind. That's what I want to, where I want to be. That's how I want to feel. So you train these neural passages. It's very serious. It's very serious.
Is that sort of the same, like in a way, it's a kind of a conditioning for your mind as well?
You can put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. I call it developing your mind and building new neural passages, new programs in your mind. And then you operate based on that.
Okay. So the next one is, how do we know when we may need professional support or counselling to address a low self-esteem and in order to build resilience? And what types of interventions are typically recommended?
I can't talk for others. I use my own interventions.
Okay.
Some things I just invented, to be honest. Yeah, and I see it works as my tool in my hands. It works. The tools are based on existing, of course, that I took from various areas of psychotherapy, evidence-based and non-evidence-based. So I don't know, I can't give general advice, but maybe just one.
Okay.
Don't look for the method, look for the person. So don't look for the instrument, look for the surgeon.
Okay.
Because any tool can be performed or misperformed, right? And it highly depends on the person who is holding that tool.
That's a good way of looking at it, the good way of putting it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when do you want to do that? When you feel like you're ready to change. Maybe not so ready, but actually you want to be pushed towards it a little bit. Some degree of readiness should be there.
Okay. I think having an open mind would definitely be, would that be one sort of sign of being ready?
Open mind towards what?
Towards wanting the change. Would that be, for example, like if you're in a relationship and your partner notices something in you that's sort of stopping you furthering the relationship, if that kind of intervention takes place, the partner that's being accused of not being completely ready for progressing the relationship, they would have to have some kind of open mind to want to go.
Yes, if they have this, no one can be pushed into therapy or help or anything like that. You can't run after somebody and scream, let me help you, and this person is just running away and you just run even faster. It's not happening. It's not going to work. If that person, at least internally, is ready to be helped, it doesn't matter what they say, but internally, if they are actually looking for the right person, right time, right space, that if that is what you called being an open-minded, then yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Then yes.
Okay. This moves on to the final section of the show, which is the open mic. It gives you a chance to sort of directly talk with the audience and directly talk about something that you want to share, anything that you are passionate about. Doesn't have to do with the topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So in the last 5 minutes or so.
Oh, okay. That's a long time.
A couple minutes. It's not even that long.
Depends on the time. I can talk, believe me. Non-stop. Yeah. First of all, on two things that I want to mention. First of all, if we're talking about seeing me, then my message would be come as you are. Because I see many times, I see when clients do come eventually, first thing that they said they were so scared to come because they didn't know what to talk about, how to describe their problem, or what to say. And I always say, you don't have to be prepared in any way. Come as you are. I'll do all the talking, I promise. Okay. And we will get to the bottom of things. I can't speak for others because there are so many rules in the area of counseling or psychotherapy or even psychologists, etc., etc. You come there and first thing that they ask is what brought you in. Yes, it's a legitimate question, of course, to ask. And I do ask sometimes as well, but when I see that the person is a little bit lost, I won't insist on that question.
Okay.
So if you just feel this inner discomfort, but confused, you don't know what to say, but you are actually looking for some kind of clarification, some kind of help, come as you are. And you'll be safe.
Okay.
Another thing, other theme, you asked me, Dina, about my passion, and I already touched on that. I said, if you remember, that I do some experiments with some volunteers, just to. We're looking into the abilities of the unconscious mind, of deep trance states, what's possible, what's not. And I have a very, very interesting demographic there. Two of these volunteers, they are, describe them as ordinary people.
Okay.
And two of them are psychics.
Okay.
One is calling herself a shamanic psychic, and the other is just a psychic and a tarot reader and some other cards reader. I was very interested to look into the psychic phenomena through looking into their unconscious and how it performs in a trance state, in the official trance state. And the more experiments I did with them, the more I come to the conclusion that in these two words that are always put together, psychic phenomena, the word phenomena is not needed.
Okay.
So it's very interesting how it works. It's not a phenomena. And what they come up with, any other person can do it in the trance state. And in terms of reading the future, I don't think it's possible because of many, many factors. Yes, I know there are many people out there. They're going to tell me, they're going to run with tons of evidence.
Yeah.
I know that. But guess what? That's the real hypnotherapy there in work. We have so many possibilities in life. And once you put your attention to one of those, you can be programmed into that.
Okay.
There is more into it, but of course it's not the topic of what we're doing here. I'm just describing the areas of interest. And also I work with, let's call them normal people, in these experiments. And I find that this ability to go into deep trance, it can be learned as well, and how helpful that is for people.
Yeah. No, I think that it's very interesting. I think the understand of just going into your mind a bit more without any factors that can take place, and just seeing what your mind is, not anything to do with what society expects or anything like that. For me, it's also very interesting. It's something that I love watching videos on, and watching different understandings of the different ways that your mind sort of acts and reacts to situations. So I can definitely see how much of a passion this is for you. And I think with a lot of people, especially in resilience, especially on this show, I think a lot of people would find that a huge interest. So if a guest or if an audience member would like to get in touch with you, is there a way that they are
absolutely.
able
to? I have a Facebook profile. I have a LinkedIn profile. Just by my name, I have a website, atonht.com.au, atonht.com.au. I have a YouTube channel, but honestly, I have only a handful of videos there because I don't have time to produce them, and I don't have helpers to produce these videos because my attention is not quite there, to be honest. And some of the abilities I show them in these YouTube channel videos, but that's mainly a show, to be honest. I don't have to do instant trance in order to work with somebody. Although it's quicker, it's more convenient, it doesn't have to be that way. There's no need to put somebody in trance instantly and momentarily. It can take 5 minutes, it can take 10 minutes if it's more comfortable for the person.
No, it's very interesting. I think I'll definitely have the link to your website and to your LinkedIn in the description for audiences to get to.
Facebook, Messenger, I'm available. I will respond. Messenger, LinkedIn, I don't go into my Instagram. For some reason, I don't know why. Maybe I should.
Well, I'll definitely have that all down below for audiences, because I know there's going to be a lot of interest, even in just the research itself. It's going to be really interesting to talk about that a bit more. So that's pretty much all that we have time to talk about today. Thank you so much, Irena, for joining me and for talking about self-esteem, and also talking to me a little bit more about how important the brain is and how much it fits in with every other part of the body. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you guys in the next episode.
You have been listening to Bouncing Back, the Personal Resilience Science Insights podcast produced by the Life Management Science Labs. Listen to episodes from LMSL's 10 Life Management Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or other podcasting apps on your smartphone. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps others find us and us grow to bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at pr.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Tia Harmer. Thanks for tuning in.